And in my last video we went ahead and got this whole welding fume extraction system put up here, and both the extraction arms, whatever you call them, and the fan here found on an auction, which meant they are used. And when we got the fan put in place and was gonna turn it on, well, it didn't turn on. It just, the breaker popped, and well, it just turns out that the motor is just burned up. It's junk. So what we're gonna do in this video is to well, replace the motor. And it's not gonna be just to replace it, because I couldn't find the right motor, so we're gonna have to make a little adapter too, and just fix it up a bit. Just gonna pull this out. I think these things should pull out here. There we go. And then this here, I'm just gonna take apart when I drop the whole fan down. I suppose my gluing here seems to hold together, at least. It would be much better if it just broke, but I suppose I did it too well. There we go. Here it is. That's a crap in the bottom. We're gonna have to scrape all this garbage out. So, because I think this whole wheel is a little loose on the shaft, I'm just gonna try very carefully so I don't break it with just two crowbars here and just pry it out. Oh yeah, that works. There we go. That's good. That was nice and easy. I can go ahead and remove these bolts. Oh, they are tight. Really, ow, really freaking tight. There we go. Into the motor now. Just gotta remove these bolts too to remove this. There we go. We got one bad motor. And I'll take it apart a little later and we'll see if we can see something inside it. But we've got a package. We get some candy. That's not what we bought. This is what we bought. This is just some paper which you throw away. And here is the motor that we bought. So nice and new. And you can obviously see some difference here and here. And yeah, that's a lot of reasons, but to say it simply, or all things considered, this was just the best thing we could find in price wise and right size, like horsepower, and yeah, it was just the best. So we're gonna have to make from a flange from a B3 B14 to a B5 or B3 flange. I'm not really sure which it is. Yeah, we're just gonna have to make some a little adapter, I say like so. So it's not just to bolt it on, because then this would have been a very short video. And this is also we're gonna see, it's a 1.1 kilowatt motor, and this old one was like 0.75, so we bought a little bigger because this probably burnt out for a reason, because it was a little underpowered, so we just got a little bigger one. Take these 4 bolts or nuts off, and then the whole thing should come apart. And I think the new motor is actually kind of better quality. At least it kind of feels like that. You know, this piece is just plastic, and the new one is sheet metal, but that's better than just broken plastic. Oh yeah, it is more bolts here. No, it's not just a private stuff, maybe. Right, I was stuck. Loosen up these nuts right here. But I'm not gonna screw them the whole way, because this is just gonna be thrown away either way. So I'm just gonna destroy the threads here a little bit and just use a pair of pliers and screw it out like that. A lot easier. That was some solid plastic. I thought I would just break it. There we go. That should be it. Well, actually, it's not really. I have to get rid of this key too. That one was at least easy, and I've had some other ones that was a little bit harder, if we say like so. There we go. This side doesn't look bad, it looks brand new, but this side, that looks a bit corroded there, and I don't know if you can see there, it looks kind of burnt, like it's soot, I don't know, on it, and that is the whole way around. Looks like that. Yeah, I think it's burnt out of one or another reason, but it is. So I thought to use this piece to make the adapter between a new motor and the fan, but that's not gonna work. But I found another plate that I can use, so let's go and cut a piece of that. So, sorry about all the wind noises here, but this is a plate here that we're gonna use for a different project. It doesn't matter, I don't need a little piece of 8mm plate to make that adapter, and I don't have any other than this, and it doesn't matter if I just take a little piece off the corner there. It's not gonna affect anything, I don't think. So I got this plate cut here, cleaned up a bit, and now it is just a thing to figure out how to mount this on the lathe, which is kind of tricky, just mounting, you know, a straight plate like this. And I don't have any jaws that I can grab, you know, on the outsides. I came up with an idea of what is going to work, and I could just weld a ring to it, and then I can just grab on that ring with the jaws, and then I can turn one side and I'm going to have a hole in it. And then I can just cut the ring off and grab it in the hole to turn the other side. And the ring I found, that was just the first thing I found, was this big thing. But it will work, it's pretty good, I think. Just weld that, just a couple little tacks in here, and just grab here. And I put it in, already put it in the lathe, and just face this off, so this side and the back side here is parallel. good. And now it should just be to turn this down to 200 mil on the Odie. I found something that will cut a little better here, so let's try that. It does cut better, but it makes all these long stringy chips instead of all the small ones, but the other one hardly cut anymore, so I suppose this is worse but still better. So, got this turned down to the right diameter. Now it's just to face this hole off. get this board out so it's actually like perfect. I can oh, I don't know. I think that is actually really good. I'm just gonna chamfer that edge there, and then so this is looking real nice here on this side. So let's get this out of the chuck here and then take the grinder and just try to cut these welds off. I'm just double checking it here before I cut it off, and look at that. It's like goes on super easy after I sanded it, but it still has like zero play. Perfect. This is just to put this in the chuck here again. And now I'm just gonna start with facing this off. Then I'm gonna have to make this step down here. I just snuck up on the diameter here, and that led to this thing fitting absolutely perfectly. Goes on easily, but no play, so that's perfect. Now I just need to, I did hit this edge with a file, so it's not razor sharp here, but I have to take this down and bevel that edge. These just ripped out of that. Just, these tooths just broke. Huh. It is done, finally. Well, on the lathe, I should say. Still got 8 holes to drill in different places, but all the turning is done. We have to drill 4 holes here for, you know, to mount it on the motor and to mount it on here. And I marked 2 little centimeters marks there. I'm just gonna put this on here. Just tighten that up a bit. I've double checked the measurement between all the holes here, and that's all good. And I got a 8mm drill bit in here, so now it's just to drill a hole, or 4 holes. So got all these holes drilled here. It's looking pretty nice. I'm gonna countersink on later, but I'll just do that by hand, that's easier. So it's just to swap some tools here, center up on that little center punch mark right there, and drill the inner ring with the holes, which is gonna be 6mm. So I got all these holes drilled and I measured it, and I think it is perfect. Or the holes are in the perfect place. But it's one thing left, and that is that I have to like counter bore. I have to recess the bolts here. If not, they will hit the fan wheel or whatever. So I'm just gonna take an end mill, put that in there, and just go in like 2mm or so. And I think that should be perfect. 2.5 millimeter. I think that's perfect. Oh, that's better. There we go. That is a lot better. So it's no sharp edges or anything, or a little burr. That's just so nice. But this thing could be no good if it doesn't fit. So let's see if it fits. Look at that. All the holes line up perfectly. So I'm really happy with that. Let's see how they line up with this too. Okay, that seems to be a little off, but these holes are a little bigger. They're like 9 millimeters, so it was kind of hard to measure on those. Let's just see if the bolts fit in. That one fits. Yeah, so all the bolts fits. Happy that it was these that doesn't line up perfectly, but they do line up perfectly enough so the bolt all goes in. So that's all good. So I think that's all. Or not actually, I have a little part I have to machine, but let's go ahead and get this bolted on now. So it should just be to put this on here. Line the holes up there, and then I get a couple bolts, or 4 bolts here, cut off, or cut down till it was a little too long. So I'll just cut that off a little bit. I'm gonna pop a little Loctite on these. It's maybe not necessary, but I don't want them to come out, so. There we go. That shouldn't, or these shouldn't come out of there. It should be real nice and solid now. Then should just be to put this on here. There we go. So this is all put together and all looking real nice, I think, with this adapter plate here. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, how this turned out here. And now I'm gonna put the fan wheel on, and that is meant to sit against that little shoulder on the shaft there. But if I put the fan wheel, or whatever you call it, on, it's gonna end up hitting the adapter that we made. So we're gonna have to make a little spacer to space it up so it's not gonna hit the adapter. So that's looking pretty nice right there. Get it faced off and cleaned up there. So let's just drill a 16 in the hole, and then I'm gonna bore it out to 19. It's not great, but I think it will work. It was a little too loose. I took off a little too much the last pass there, but I think it will work. Got the part off tool in here, and I'm just gonna measure it out here. I think couldn't get 100%, but I think it will be close enough. This right there, and just part it off. So let's see if this thing fits. It's actually turned out really nice, I gotta say that. Just perfect. I think it actually turned out pretty perfect right there. I ground this key a little bit on the length. It's a little too long still. Ground it down a little more, and there we go. Perfect. That's all tight right there. So now it's just to put this thing on. But you can see all this garbage that is on this thing. I'm gonna go ahead and get this cleaned up a little bit while I'm in here. And of course I'm gonna forget to hit record, but I just put the fan wheel back on and put the bolt in with a little bit of Loctite. So now it is time to put on the other half. And while I'm in here, I'm just gonna fill this gap here a little bit with this stuff. Why I'm using this thing to squeeze it out, or this piece of crap thing, is just because I didn't find the other one. Alright. So I've cleaned this out a bit here, and then it has this little rubber gasket here that is not particularly good anymore. I'm just gonna put a little bit of this the whole way around here. And we'll just put this thing on here, I hope. I just to put all these tiny little bolts in. I'm gonna try to squeeze a little new stuff on the edge here. I'm gonna have to put in some new rivets here too. So we're almost done with the fan. I forgot that we have to put this plate on that the motor sits on. There we go. So now we can go in there and put it up on the wall. So let's turn that on, and that is on. So now is it the big test? Does it work or does it blow up or something? It didn't suck anything. Well, actually, you know what? When I think about it, I actually know why it's not sucking. It's a plug at the end of the pipe here. There we go, now it should blow out there. And if you saw my last video of installing this whole extraction system, this what it looks like up here, just put up this pipe and some plastic around it so it's not gonna get water into the pipe, and this is obviously just temporary. And more important things to do than fixing this permanently. And I think I figured out a better way when what I did in the last video to show you how this actually works. And also finally got an oxy-acetylene torch. Well, I hope you can see it sucked out most of the smoke there. When you just burn the acetylene, it just smokes a lot, so even if it was pretty far away, it sucked out most of it. I mean, not all of it obviously, but it does a really good job. And well, the fan seems to work really well now, so yeah, well, we're all done here, so thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.